Hey everybody, it's Jewelyn. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my top 10 series featuring 10 of my largest succulents, which I'm really having fun expanding my top 10 series because I've never actually sat down and gathered up my largest babies in my collection, and I wanted to have fun with it and do cactus, houseplants, and succulents instead of just 10 because my collection is around 400 plants. It's hard for me to just narrow down 10 of my largest plants. So I hope you enjoy this expanded series of top 10. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see who makes it for my 10 largest succulent babies currently living in my collection. I think when I went and gathered them right now for this video, there's a handful of babies that you see quite often on my channel and a handful of them that you really don't get to see. So this is a very fun way for me to also showcase the babies in the collection as well as to give you updates on where they're at. Let's welcome my largest succulent, my most expensive succulent I ever purchased in my collection, which I got 2 years ago, probably 2.5 years ago in Las Vegas. Randomly, it is my Crested ovata, my big beautiful jade plant, which is funny because now where I live in Santa Monica, there's a big jade tree in the front of my home, which I propagate a lot from. But this, guys, is my largest purchased succulent I have ever purchased, and the most expensive one. This was like around, I want to say $40, and 2.5 years ago I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I spent $40 on a succulent. And I purchased this in Las Vegas, and so far it's doing good. Take a look at just the beauty of this thing. I have this living in the front of my home and like a basket here. It's living like in a plastic planter, which I don't want to grab and take up because he's heavy, but there's a plastic planter in here and he's living in this white wicker basket, and it's doing so good on me. Because I purchased this plant, I don't want to give it up, even if I do propagate jade quite often in my collection from my big mother tree in my yard. I still love seeing this in my collection amongst the rest of my plant babies because it's one of probably my oldest succulents in my collection currently here in Santa Monica, and I love seeing it grow on me. So I want to start off today's video with this baby, probably one of my most expensive babies that I'm going to be talking about in today's video, which is interesting because again, I have this living in the front of my yard and it's like a really big tree, which I probably will just share with you at the end of the video what the current look of the tree in my yard looks like, so you can see what it looks like this time of the year. So shout out to my beautiful jade baby that I purchased in Las Vegas a couple years ago. I want to talk about another Las Vegas baby that I think I purchased this in Las Vegas, I want to say, and it was probably part of, I want to say, my Las Vegas $25 challenge haul. I think that's where I got this big beautiful baby, or just maybe one of my Las Vegas hauls. It's a beautiful flapjack, and believe it or not, this plant did not look good. It looked awful. The bottom leaves were just not in the greatest condition, and it was living in my greenhouse for a while. And then if you've seen the recent Clean With Me where my grandma redid the whole greenhouse, you've seen that she had put it in a big beautiful nursery planter to give it more leg room. And I think in the upcoming Planting with Jewelyn episodes that I'm going to be just kind of doing things with my collection, I want to go ahead and hopefully house this beautiful flapjack in a terracotta planter. That is my goal because it's finally living its best life. Here it is, my beautiful flapjack, and I think there was a baby somewhere down here, or I might have propagated from this mother plant before. And this plant again wasn't looking the greatest when I brought it into my collection, and it lived in my greenhouse for a hot minute, and now it's living in a big nursery planter that my grandma put it in the other day for the channel. So in the future, when I do another Planting with Jewelyn episode, if I do have a planter readily available, I would like to go ahead and put this one in a beautiful planter because it is living its best life. So I wanted to go ahead and feature it in today's video. I do have a handful of Kalanchoe EES. Flapjacks are super fun plants to have, but once they start looking crappy, you just need to kind of let it do its thing. I took off all the bottom leaves and I just kind of started over, and then now here it is. Fast forward a couple of months, it's doing really good. as you can see, compared to the size of my head, this is a very huge plant. So for now it's living in this nursery planter, but in the future I like to see it in a terracotta planter, so stay tuned. Maybe before I go to the Philippines would be a nice deadline for me to put this into a different kind of planter. This Ionian, which I featured in my top 10 for succulents, and I didn't want to refeature it again because I did feature it in my top 10 succulents, but this is one of my largest succulents currently in my collection, and this was a cutting from Arizona, and it's doing really good. All of my Ionians in my collection, and I do have a lot, were all gifted for me from different platforms, from different cities and states, which is fun to think about. But these are, I think, one of my largest Ionians. I think the ones also from the Bay Area that I got from my last summer intensive at the host that I was staying at. Those Ionians are doing really good in the plastic white planters, if you remember me planting that up. But I wanted to go ahead and highlight these ones because they're pretty large. Ionians are common large type plants in landscapings. You see them, but if you watched my top 10 succulents, you also see that they do come really tiny and miniature. But for today's video, I wanted to go ahead and highlight these. So as you can see, they are very large and beautiful, and I am loving the look of it. This is living in the front part of my home with the cactus and succulents so that it can get maximum sun. The next baby I want to talk about is my beautiful Crested Gloom, which was actually a split that I did with Kira. I gave the other half of this mother plant to Kira as a birthday gift, and hers is doing really well. I have this one in a nursery planter that I probably got from Chinatown here in Los Angeles, and it's doing really good. I'm a huge fan of Cressulas. I do have a lot. Maybe one day I'll do a Cressula collective video. You'll notice with Cressulas, they all look totally different, which is very fun to collect. But as you can see, this one is doing really good, and I want to say I got this one in, I'm thinking either Las Vegas or maybe somewhere here. I don't remember. This is really bad, but I want to say I might have gotten this from Las Vegas. I'm gonna have to think about it. But one of my largest babies. This lives in the front section of my succulent shelfie on the ground. So far so good. There's a lot of new growth here. If Kira's birthday, I don't know. I don't think I've had this plant for too long. It does need a cleaning though. It's very dusty. So stay tuned for a clean with me series where I clean succulents that I'm gonna probably end up having to just go in with a toothbrush and just, you know, brush every single nook and cranny in this plant to get it cleaned out. I wouldn't do the paper towel with the coconut oil water. I would just give it like a nice brush through with a toothbrush. So stay tuned for hopefully a clean with me video featuring my Crested babies. This one definitely needs a cleaning. And very easy propagator. You can easily just go ahead, just like the Crested Ovada, my Jade baby, you can go ahead and just cut it here, throw the ends in water, it'll root up and you can go ahead and propagate it. And I believe Carrie also gave me a baby. So if you take a look here, here's a fallen baby here, and it's very easy to propagate. I can either stick that into dirt or I can stick it into water and it'll root up right away. So here's a little update of my biggest Crested Gloom. I think I have 2 or 3 more living on my plant shelfie in my patio, but this is the largest one. On the theme of white round planters, here's another beautiful baby of mine that I featured in my top 10 succulents. So I guess it's gonna be a repeat offender. I really love this succulent. This is a Crested Ionian Sunburst Variegata. So this is a very beautiful kiwi sunburst baby. I love this thing so much. I need to enter it in like a plant show because of its characteristic and the way how it's growing. It's just such a stunning piece to look at. This lives currently on my Tiffany blue table in a white planter that I also got from Chinatown. I love it how it's paired with this beautiful succulent. I love anything crested. I do have a bunch of crested cacti baby and succulent babies. This is probably my favorite one. As you can see, the variegation is absolutely stunning, and I've been loving this in my collection. So yes, you recently seen this in my top 10 succulents, but I had to share it today because it is one of my largest babies in my collection, and probably out of all of them, I think the one that's variegated the most, so that's pretty fun to think. Here is another fun baby that I haven't talked about in a while. This is my beautiful Kalanchoe. I think it's like a butterfly variation. I don't know if you remember, I did a come with me to Lakewood and I bought Catherine and I matching plants, and it was stunning and variegated in pink. And I think what I'm gonna do now, after bringing her out for this video and I don't see any pink on it, I'm gonna leave it in the front of my home to help with the variegation, because it was really stunning when I brought it home. It was like in beautiful hues of pink and lovely blooms, and that's what made me fall in love with the plant. And now the blooms aren't here and there's no pink on this plant, but I still love it. It's living in a white planter that I probably got from Home Goods 2.5 years ago, but I haven't had this plant for long, probably just a handful of months. Catherine's one is doing really good, living in her patio, and this is the current condition of mine. But probably one of my biggest Kalanchoes in my collection, which you will probably see the largest one after I talk about this one. But I'm kind of sad that there's no hues of pink on here, so I'm gonna have it live in the front of my home, and let's see what it looks like in a couple of months. But just here's an update of what it looks like. Still pretty, but I'm gonna try to see if I can help it. I also noticed that this guy was about to fall off. I do see some roots in here, so what I'm gonna do with this one is stick the end in water. When it roots up, I'll go ahead and I'll just place it back into the planter here so it can fill up the pot, so that's fine. Here is my next baby that I want to talk about, which I haven't talked about on my channel, I don't think recently. This is my beautiful Burrows tail. Look at it. It is so crazy and cool. I don't know what to do with this thing. He's so big and large. If you take a look at him, he's wild and crazy. He was very hard to plant up because with these type of succulents, once you touch them, they start falling to pieces. So donkey's tail, Burrows tail, once you plant them up, don't touch them. Find them their forever home and just let them cascade over the planter. I'm not gonna touch this one. As you can see in the top and center, there is lots of new baby growth here. So if there's any fallouts, I literally just put it onto the planter and it'll just grow into new plant babies. But I want to say this is a very easy propagator. Anytime I had any fallouts, I just throw it into water propagation and it gives up roots. If you look really closely here, you can see a lot of cute area roots. This lives on my wicker chest on the opposite side of my Tiffany blue table, and I kind of just let it live there and get wild and crazy. I don't know what to do with him, but I love looking at him and I don't want to touch him because he'll start falling to pieces. But here's a really fun update on one of my Burrows tail. Really fun, wild, crazy succulent. I'm just gonna leave it in here forever, and let's see when I share on the channel again how much growth it gives me. But for now, I mean, it is trailing all over. Again, I try to not touch it because he'll start falling to pieces. But he's living his best wild life here in this terracotta planter. Sound off down below, guys, if you have this particular succulent, and is it long and traily like mine? Does it look crazy like this? It's so hard to style these plants. I just kind of let it do its thing. I probably purchased this plant baby maybe from Pasadena Rosebowl Flea Market, I'm thinking. Maybe. And then I brought it home and tried transplanting it, and this is like the best I could do for it. But it's cascading over the planter and just kind of doing its own thing. But very fun to talk about this guy because I really haven't talked about him on the channel once I planted him up in a planting with Jewelyn. So here's a quick little update. So here is another baby that I want to go ahead and highlight today. I was contemplating either sharing the string of bananas or my trailing jade, and I decided to go with this one because it is more fuller. Technically my string of bananas is longer in trails when it comes to length, but I wanted to go ahead and highlight this one. This is my beautiful Senecio Jacobsonii. So as you can see, Senecios do grow quite long and large. I'm kind of interested to see how long it's going to take for it to give me more variegations of purple on this because there is none. So I might have to move this into the front of my home to get more sunlight on it. It lives in my patio next to some of my Ripsalises and my Hoya compacta. But this one has been featured on my channel previously, so this is one of my favorite Senecios in my collection. But I love collecting them, so if you haven't watched my Senecio collective video, go ahead and check it out. I love collecting trailing plants, and this is one of my favorites in my collection. So as you can see, lots of characteristics. You see this a lot, or actually I see this a lot in different types of succulent gardens. So when I do my come with me's, this is like a really popular plant that people tend to use in succulent gardens, and trailing off like on the side of old like bird bath or fountain, and it's like trailing with hues of purple on it. But mine's is still green. Catherine and I got this the same time in West Hollywood. Hers lives in her bathroom, mine's live in my patio, and this is probably one of my largest succulent pieces in my collection. All right, so here is my repeat baby that I would like to talk about. This is probably my largest succulent baby in my collection currently. This is my string of hooks. As you can see, it is traily and long, and this lives in the same area as my Hoya compacta. I love this thing a lot. You guys seen it recently in my top 10 succulents. Easy propagator. Carrie and Tanya has plant cuttings from this one. Very easy to grow, and I love seeing this thing cascade in my patio. Every time I look at this plant, it feels like I'm doing something right because of just the massiveness and the length of this baby. It's a very fun plant to have. So if you're looking for a Senecio, this is probably one of my favorite ones just because it is an easy grower. So I was like, you know what, I can't leave him out. He is truly my largest succulent in my collection. So here's another look of my beautiful string of hooks. If you haven't watched my top 10 succulents, go ahead, watch it. I think a handful of the babies I talked about today, my Ioniums, my Crested Aeonium Sunburst, as well as the string of hooks, have been featured in my top 10 favorite succulents currently. So it's interesting to think that they're also my largest babies in my collection. The last baby that I would like to talk about in my current top 10 largest succulents currently living in my Santa Monica collection. This is my beautiful Kalanchoe, my chocolate soldier. It is crazy to think that I got this as part of a rescue for $15 with a bunch of other succulents. I think I got some fire sticks in there, and I think maybe some kind of echeveria, I'm not sure, I don't remember. But this was like the reason why I wanted to get the rescue, and it is living its best life in a beautiful white planter. Here's what it looks like. There's some blooms that kind of died off, but it's still hanging out. I love looking at this thing. I try to not touch it, and I do get a little stressed out when it comes to fuzzy succulents because I don't want to kill them. I feel like they're a little bit finicky when it comes to plant care compared to the other hardier succulents, but so far this one is doing good, and I can't believe I have this one in my collection. I do have smaller ones living on my succulent shelfies of the same plant, but this was a really fun rescue that Catherine and I did. All of her plants from her $15 rescue is also doing good, but this was the reason why I got mine. Hers, she ended up getting a bundle for her rescue with a big agave in, which I didn't get, but I ended up choosing this one because of this particular baby. Look at it, it is so stunning. Like, love it so much. So I'm gonna wrap up the video on this fuzzy baby. I hope you enjoyed sitting down and hearing me talk about my current largest succulents currently in my Santa Monica collection. This is very fun for me to expand my top 10 series because I've never actually sat down and talked about my largest babies in my collection. So this is a first for me, and I'm always trying to introduce new things to my channel. That's also fun for me as well. And I'm enjoying sitting down and sharing with you my current largest babies in my collection. So stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing with you my top 10 largest cacti in my collection. I equally love houseplants, cacti, and succulents all together, and I'm able to have them out here in my space all year long, which is very fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my 10 largest succulent babies. Sound off down below in the comments. Do you have any of the babies that I mentioned today, and are they as large as mine? Or also comment down below, what is your largest succulent you currently have in your collection? Again, all of my plants are living in planters. Nothing is in ground in my collection. So far I think I'm doing good. I can't believe I have this beautiful baby in my collection. I haven't had it for very long and it's doing good, so stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoyed the updates and just seeing different babies that I don't really get to talk about in my collection, so this is also another fun way for me to highlight them. Stay tuned for my top 10 cacti that I will be featuring in my next video. If you guys enjoyed this expanded top 10 series, sound off down below and give this video a big thumbs up. If you're new, welcome to the channel. Hit the bell and subscribe button to be notified on my daily uploads. I do a daily video here on the channel at 5 a.m. and I have well over 500 videos, so if you're new, support the channel and subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until next time, aloha from Santa Monica, California. Bye! So here is a quick little update of what my big jade tree looks like. And as you can see, it's doing really good. It's not that time of the year where it blooms, but it's still gorgeous, and I'll bring it up close so you can see the beautiful variegation of red here. So I'm constantly propagating from this plant. It's such an easy propagator. And I love being able to walk past this every day, but as you can see, this Crested Avada is super huge and one of my favorite succulents in my collection. So if you guys are interested in any cuttings from my big mother plant, reach out to me. So I know a bunch of you guys either want plant cuttings from my tree from giveaways or purchased. So if you guys are interested, reach out to me, Planting with Jewelyn on Instagram.